everyone. Welcome to our 7th episode of the Next Gen Talks podcast. Today, guess what? We're having Peter Englisch. Peter Englisch is our global family business leader at PwC with over 30 years experience, and he's in Lagos for the first time, actually Nigeria as well. Today, we're honored to speak with Peter about family businesses, succession, everything you need to know about getting your next gen on board, everything you need to know about the trends that are making family businesses tick the world over. I welcome you to enjoy this session. Sit still, get a beverage, and listen up.
All right. Hello, Peter. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. It's great to have you on the show today, the Business Exclusive. Today, of course, we'll be talking about family businesses. We're talking earlier about how family businesses last year actually outperformed non-family businesses. And, I found that quite interesting. So, you have a wealth of experience, even going back at your time at EY, in terms of advising and helping family businesses. And now you're the global family business leader at PwC. So my first question is, what would you say are the unique factors that are responsible for the success of family businesses, and how can, African and Nigerian family businesses learn from these examples that you will be sharing?
So family business has typically two enormous advantages over the corporate and listed peers. One is that they have really this long-term perspective. They are thinking really long-term because they want to keep the business for succeeding generations. And the second is that they are really entrepreneurs by heart. Yeah, they want to find solutions, and they never give up to find a solution until they get it. And this persistence, this reliability, persistence, and the ethos that most of the family business has even codified in values make them really unique.
So what are so you've talked now about the skills that these family businesses have that more or less stands them in good stead, compared to non-family businesses. But going further, what exactly do you think is key, for family businesses? Like, what is that defining factor that is behind the growth, immense growth in family businesses that we're seeing today?
A family business has a unique challenge also. In fact, it's not only a positive thing. They have also a pressure. If the family grows, there is a growth mandate to grow the business at the same speed as the family grows in order to avoid that wealth and the family well-being is being diluted in each generation. So they have a mandate, an imperative to grow. How to do that? Family businesses are typically held in a private setting, so they have limited access to the capital market. This is why they have to be very, very careful how they allocate resources and how they innovate. Many of them are pioneering new technologies, and they test it in their own small environment before they make it really big. So they are conscious innovators and conscious adopters. But if a decision is taken because of the lower hierarchies and the decision-making capabilities of the owner, so this will become much more effective if they take a decision.
So what would you say, what family business ownership structures can be utilized by African families drawing on the global landscape to ensure asset protection as well as wealth preservation?
This is a very tricky question. So this goes with a discussion in different directions. One is the chosen legal form that you choose, and the other one is in which country and which legal environment you want to establish, let's say, your holding company. So, and this can be in two different locations. You can have your operating company in one country, your holding structure and ownership, so to say, in the different countries. Based on the fact that in countries with low level of trust in your business partners, in the stability and the long-term perspective, so there's a tendency that we see in many countries, not only in Africa, that trust structures became popular again. I would say there's a renaissance of trust structures currently.
Good. I mean, you alluded earlier to the fact that there are some challenges that family businesses face around the world. Are these challenges unique to only the developed markets, or do you see the same patterns in African family businesses as well? And how do you think they can, address those challenges?
I think the challenges are pretty much the same. So it really depends whether you are more a local domestic family-owned business or whether you are a global international player in the market. The current given macroeconomic environment with a lot of instability, with geopolitical challenges, it's hard to navigate, and especially it's hard to take long-term decisions in terms of investments, for instance, in which country to invest what. And this is why we see that family businesses respond to this challenge by starting very early to review their entire supply chain. And as a result, we see that some family businesses acted very fast in restructuring part of their supply chain, moving from external to internal sourcing, and combining local sourcing within the country with international global reach. So this has been different in the past, when the only guiding principle was how to get cheapest access to resources and materials. Now other factors came into play.
Times are changing, really. So, over the next decade, quite a number of Nigerian and African businesses would be, passing on their business to the next generation.
Yeah.
From your experience, we know succession planning is a big problem in Nigeria. But what would you say is the global best practice, and how can Nigerian and African businesses really get it right in terms of having the right succession plan in place?
I think one thing that I strongly recommend is to think beyond management succession. Not only focusing who is the best talent out of my family pool that can run the operations in a leadership position going forward. For family members, they have different options to get involved as an owner, as a competent board member, or as a visionary leader. But don't limit yourself to the thinking about what is a continuation in the leadership of the business. A success recipe that we see is really universal in all parts of the world, that you start really with codifying what makes us unique as a family. What are our core values as a family, and how does this relate with the business activities? How does this translate into the codex and the mission and the purpose for running the business, in order to really define your license to operate as a business and to be clear on your values. Unfortunately, only 40% of global family businesses, and even less in Africa, have codified their values and their mission. But this is an imperative if you want to attract and retain the best talent, which is a fundamental need for growth. If you want to build trust in society and with business partners, and trust is what you want to get. Trust amongst family members to have the full support for the business, trust amongst employees and the management to drive the business with the best capable talent, and also trust with other business partners and investors that they can trust what you are doing. So codify your values, start with this one. By doing so, it will flow very naturally that you think about, we haven't talked about what is important for you, chairman, dad, mother. What are your intentions? Something which has not been addressed and discussed amongst the family yet will come up during this discussion around values, purpose, and mission. And this is a good start. Based on my experience and on my recent discussion with business owners here in Nigeria, so I would tend to compare, not similar, but tend to compare the attitude that we find here in Nigeria with those of ethnic Chinese families in Asia, which means you have a lot of respect for the elderly, you have a lot of respect, and you don't dare to ask for succession, because this means I want you to die, and this is completely disrespectful.
Precisely.
You never do that. But what you can do is that you can start, hey, grandfather, hey, father, so we would love to hear the stories, how everything began. Can we start to learn from you? So what are the key takeaways, and what do you want us to take as a lesson learned, and what you want us to transmit to the next generation? And then things come naturally up and say, I want the best for my family. I want that everybody is taken care of. But we have the business as the center of our wealth, and it's my baby. I founded this, and I would like to keep this in good hands. And then it's much easier if you have a different starting point, a non-confronting, a non-offensive starting point for the discussion, building on the great history, the values, starting with some pictures from the past, how mom and dad started something. So this is non-offensive. And then you get gradually there to say, okay, what shall we do with family members not showing interest in the business? How could we select family members for leadership position? Because it's for a higher good. It's for a higher good for the family. But we need to know what you, chairman, think is a good process, because one day you are not around anymore and can decide and make your judgment. So, and then we want to avoid that we argue amongst ourselves. Give us guidance. We need the guidance. And a very recent accident that happened over the weekend with a Nigerian businessman in the US with a helicopter crash has reminded many of the families here that you cannot predict the future. And in the recent discussions that I had, so for many families, this came as a wake-up call to say, oh my goodness, what will happen if something happened to the chairman? And I think these are good discussion to have. Yeah. But I would not recommend, this is what you can do in Germany, this can do in the UK, in the US, in the more Western educated world. It's appropriate to ask your father for succession or your mother and saying, what is your plan? I need to know this. I want to build my own future. But in your environment, this is not appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, you got that right for sure. Sometimes if you ask Nigerian business owners about their plans for succession, they look at you like, you want me dead.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. I'll let my colleague ask a few questions as well now.
Absolutely.
All right, so I will just speak from where you stopped, these success recipes that you shared. So, of course, there are Asian business environment is different from the African business environment. So I want to ask, is this a one-size-fits-all solution, the success recipes that you mentioned for family businesses?
There are no one-size-fits-all, because every family is different, every family dynamic is different, every business is different, every cultural background is different. The challenges are always the same, but the solution is different. And even within a country, it varies from family to family. What I strongly suggest, based on my more than 30 years of experience, to follow a very structured approach, starting with the easy things that you can agree on. Okay. Values, mission, purpose, before you get to the difficult ones. Never start with the difficult one, because then you can always go back when you talk about why you choose my sister over my brother, how have we limited access to dividends we want or we need it for our children, for our lifestyle or whatever. Why should we come back if we have studied abroad and we don't want to come back? All this question can be much easier addressed if you have consensus on the main foundational elements of the family, like values, mission, cohesion, and mission.
All right, thank you for sharing that stepping stone. So the next question I want to ask is, how has the family office landscape evolved globally in recent years? And then what significant role does the family office play in wealth preservation and sustaining the family legacy?
It's a very good question. So family offices became more popular in the sense of managing family wealth and family investment separate from the business. So we're talking about single family office, not that the existing holding company takes over a certain role in doing some investment, private investment for the family. So we're talking about single family offices, really managing separate from the business the wealth of the family and taking care to keep them out of trouble. Those family businesses this family offices has grown tremendously. The number of single family offices has doubled over the last 10 years. If you see recent development, so it's a part of the asset protection. It's part of risk diversification that many entrepreneurs, not only in Africa, the same accounts for Asia. And this same accounts also for some countries in Europe, that they say, where should I locate my family office? How to move some assets or some wealth management out of the country, not being dependent with my family wealth from one place to be or one person to manage it. So it's a huge, tremendous trend towards single family offices. As I mentioned, number has doubled, and there is also a kind of race for a kind of beauty contest. Yeah, so Singapore has started a big initiative, right, with big support of the development agency and with governmental support, leading to the application of 3,000 more single-family offices over the last 2 years in Singapore. Wow! You can imagine that the lack of talent, 3,000. So, and you can imagine that the lack of talent in Singapore will lead also to one day, so many of those going to Singapore for wealth management purposes, but also having a permanent residency or a passport or something like that. So some benefits which comes with being there. But it's hard to find the good and qualified people. The other contestant is Dubai, Abu Dhabi, together with the typical suspects like US, UK, Switzerland, and so on.
That's true. Yeah, thank you for that. So the next question I want to ask is about the trends that you've noticed. I think I've noticed a lot of family offices prefer UK and Singapore, as you mentioned. But in your 30 years experience, what global trends are you seeing in sustainable and impact investing adoption among family offices?
Another very good question. So impact investing is a natural evolution of philanthropy and giving back. So with the realization that it's more effective to change the system and to fight the root cause instead of healing symptoms by donating money or food or whatever to society, there was a big focus on impact investing. So this field is pretty new. So at the beginning, nobody knew exactly what impact investing really is and how to do it. In the meantime, the sector has developed significantly. You have still black sheep selling something as impact investing, which is a very normal stock election from some listed companies. Is not what we typically believe impact investing is. It becomes more relevant. Has the amount of the strategic asset allocation within a family office dramatically increased towards impact investing and philanthropy? I would say no. So it has been just shifted from more philanthropic to impact investing. But we see some other trends. So 40% of all startups in the world are funded by family offices and family businesses globally. So which makes families the most active investors in technology and startup companies. This is their way in order to participate in future technology and in future development, because many cannot apply technology like Gen AI or others in the existing business models very easily. And this is why they start separate family venturing and investment.
Okay, great that you mentioned startups and tech platforms, because that is the foundation for this question, which is what is the growing appetite for alternative investments like cryptocurrency, private equity, venture capital, real estate among family offices globally? And then how does this compare to traditional public market investments?
I think real estate has always been a significant part of the portfolio investment, but I think the direct investment play a significant part, and also equities play a significant part. So other alternatives like private equity, hedge funds, crypto, as you mentioned, due to the hype of crypto 2-3 years ago and a lot of lost in value over the last 2 or 3 years, I think family office became a little bit more conscious with regard to their asset allocation towards crypto. They keep it, they hold it, they don't realize the losses so far, and I am pretty confident in the long run they will make good profits out of that. But currently it's not very popular. Private equity and hedge funds, yes, so still part of the portfolio, roughly about 5-6% of the total asset allocation typically, so not too much. And therefore I think it will continue to have their place. But the bigger trend we see is in direct investment in club deals with other families. This is what we really see is really taking off.
Thank you so much. So I'd like to ask, what would you say are the key strategies that you would recommend for family businesses that are trying to get the next generation involved in their business?
So next generation involvement is always a tricky task. My recommendation is show them in early years what the business is all about. Don't be shy. Yeah. So if you don't know what you are,
lay it all on the table.
Yeah. So lay it all on the table. Yeah. So at least what it means, what the business is doing, that you understand. Oh, mom, dad, uncle, brother coming home and talking about business, and I have no clue what this business is all about. Whether we are in oil and gas, whether we are in transportation, whether we are producing foods for people. Show them the company, show them the impact that you have on the life of others. These are our employees. This is Mr. Smith and this is Mrs. Y, and they are feeding their families with what we do, so that they get a sense of responsibility. Yeah. So that they do not see the business as a cash machine, but as a responsibility that needs to be handled very carefully. At a certain age, not too early, I also recommend to provide more transparency about what they may or may not expect as an owner, if they inherit shares, or as a beneficiary, if the assets are in the trust structure and you get access to funds and money from the trustee. Just to manage expectation so that they know what to expect. This requires that you have your succession plan in place, which is often not the case, and then you don't know what to say. But I think based on my experience working with NextGen over the last 16 years across the world, is that they need to know what the expectations of the parents are. They need to know how, at a certain age, what is the expectation and access to capital and funds, so that they can digest and adjust to this. Because what I always say is wealth can become easily a poison gift, ending up to having false friends, leading to bad behavior. And we have seen that wealthy next-gens who were not prepared become drug addicted, criminal, and didn't have any good time in life. So this doesn't make sense. So makes them familiar, brings them to the company, allow for internships so that they know what they own, but gives them the freedom to choose whether they want to be engaged or not.
So you get them young, essentially. Well, there was something you kept saying. You said at the right age. So what is the right age?
I think bringing them to the company, and so this is what the company is doing. You can start very early, age of 10 years or so. This is what you do. This is what we are doing here. This is the production. Sorry?
They could come do internships at the office.
So internships, I would say internships or working on the floor and so on. So not introducing child labor here. So but they say maybe 15, 16 years old. So but doing internship. So that they understand how the business is working. So what different tasks exist at the shop floor for a blue-collar worker, for those working in the office, so that they start to get a sense of the complex system of the company.
Great. So let me ask this question. I mean, in Nigeria today, we have economic growth challenges, right? And I mean, if I've heard you correctly, family businesses do play a very vital role, globally in terms of contributing to economic growth. You said, 40% of investors in businesses are 40% of investors in
startup and scale-up globally is family
businesses. So how important is it for Nigeria at this time? I mean, what's the huge gain in terms of helping family businesses in Nigeria really grow and thrive? What gain will that have on how that translates to economic growth and as well as fostering development in Nigeria and across Africa as well?
No, absolutely. So there's strong evidence, and we do an EMEA private business attractiveness index every year, so that we were able to prove that there is a correlation, a very strong correlation between an enabling environment for private businesses to grow and to flourish, and the GDP growth in the country and the public welfare of the society. There is undeniable. And you look around the world, in all countries, there is no exception. Private businesses drive economic growth, drive innovation, and drive also employment. The biggest advantage that family business have so far, also according to the Edelman Trust Barometer, is that they enjoy the highest level of trust of society, employees, and others. More than government, more than media, even more than NGOs. They are the most trusted and perceived most competent institution on the planet across all countries. What's important for Nigeria? I think family business with codified values, with a clear mission, has a clear mandate to build or keep the level of trust with the broader stakeholder group, not only amongst the family members, but also with the workers, with the communities and others. I think what this is, for me, paramount, and this is a foundation. Another element has to come on top, which is alignment with the government. The private sector and the government need to align towards common goals. What are the things that need to get done in this country? And what is the role of the government? Typically, it's setting the rules, is describing this is the direction we want, but they're not the executors. The executors are the company, the inventors are the companies, so the realizer of new ideas are the companies. And the private sector is ready to contribute, but they need guidance and they need alignment. And from my personal perspective, I think restoring trust in this country is the fundamental number one issue to attract more investments and investors into the country.
Precisely. Thank you so much for that answer. So that's it. I don't know if you have any other question and any other thoughts you would like to share that we haven't touched on already.
You let me know, is there anything that we missed or so?
We missed out anything.
So
we're good.
Yeah,
right, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah,
very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.